we get ready to roll with the news of the day, which is the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland has officially named its starting quarterback. And guess what? It's not Shedeur Sanders, and it's not Joe Flacco. This has been the biggest, most notable. And it's not Dillon Gabriel. Excuse me. It's not Shedeur Sanders, and it's not Dillon Gabriel. This has been the biggest off-season quarterback talk of anything in the NFL preseason right now, and it's amounted to nothing. They're going to go forward with Joe Flacco as their starter to begin the year. Joe Flacco started for Cleveland in the past. Joe Flacco started for Indianapolis last year, but he played for Cleveland in 2023. So it's not like he's new to playing with Cleveland. He was 4-1 while starting at Cleveland in 2023, and then was 2-4 starting for Indianapolis last year. Obviously, as we know, Cleveland in 2024, trying to build around Deshaun Watson, went an abysmal 3-14, but Kevin Stefanski is back. Kevin Stefanski is a great running backs coach. Okay. I got to be honest with you guys. A great quarterbacks coach. Stefanski is a great quarterbacks coach. I believe in him. This is why I believe in the quarterbacks that Cleveland has. I think they're going to get the right one. Whichever one does start, Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, long term, will be in the best position possible. Even with Ken Dorsey gone after 2024, I still think that they're going to be in very good shape. Tommy Rees, now for the record, is their offensive coordinator. Tommy Rees was, for those who don't remember, Nick Saban's offensive coordinator at Alabama. Saban kind of took over that offense to make Jalen Milroe work in college, but that doesn't mean Tommy Rees can't handle the offensive coordinator duties. He has proven it in the past, particularly during his time at Notre Dame. All that to say is they're going to run a standard pro style offense. This is why they named Joe Flacco their starter right now. But here's the real reason they named Joe Flacco their starter. And I have a theory on this, and I think it's something they won't say to you up front. Joe Flacco is being named the starter because Dillon Gabriel has not separated himself from Shedeur Sanders the way Cleveland had hoped. Cleveland drafted, in case you guys forgot, Dillon Gabriel much earlier than they drafted Shedeur Sanders. They took Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round with the 94th pick. They settled on Shedeur Sanders because he was still there in the 5th round. And they were thinking, what the heck is this guy doing so low in the NFL draft? So they kind of felt that you have to take a chance on him. But let's be honest, they want Dillon Gabriel to be the guy who works out long term. The same way, for the record, when Washington drafted RG3 and Kirk Cousins in the same draft. Yes, Mike Shanahan was in love with Kirk Cousins, but they wanted RG3 to be the guy to work out long-term, not Kirk Cousins, at least under Mike Shanahan. Now, when Jay Gruden got there, totally different story. Jay Gruden wanted to put his own stamp, and part of that was throwing RG3 under the bus and building around Kirk Cousins. At the same time, RG3 had totally lost his game at that point. Still, Cleveland wants Dillon Gabriel to work out. Dillon Gabriel is not working out the way they wanted him to. He can't separate himself from Shedeur Sanders. Now, part of this is, again, Tommy Rees as a pro-style offensive coordinator. Shedeur Sanders is a better fit for what he wants to do than Dillon Gabriel. They don't want to admit that. Now, Kevin Stefanski himself, as the head coach, has his own experience coaching quarterbacks. He can mold quarterbacks into his system. And he's been a lot more flexible than, say, Brian Callahan is in Tennessee, which is why I've said Cam Ward won't work out. But at the same time, as a pure pocket passer in Tommy Rees's system coming out of Notre Dame before Alabama, Shedeur Sanders is more prepared to run that offense than Dillon Gabriel right now. He just is. Guys, there's 2 weeks left of the preseason. Why in the world would they name their starting quarterback now? They're naming their starting quarterback right now because specifically, they're realizing very quickly that Dillon Gabriel is not going to beat out Shedeur Sanders, and that Dillon Gabriel is not going to be a fit for the system. And they don't want the Shedeur Sanders media circus. If they start Joe Flacco, they can claim that they're grooming Shedeur for a year. They're going to figure things out, and they'll go forward with him next year. And they'll have time. They're buying themselves time to figure out what to do with the Shedeur Sanders media circus. That's excuse me, sorry guys. That's what's happening. That's what's happening with them right now. They're starting Joe Flacco because they're trying to avoid the Shedeur Sanders media circus. Now, again, Joe Flacco has been pretty efficient the last couple of years, so I wouldn't pretend that he's not somebody you want to start. But Joe Flacco, I mean, we're kind of still, and it's because of the way he finished that year at Cleveland in 2023. We're overrating just how good he has been at different places and at different stops ever since he left Baltimore in 2018. Joe Flacco's last, yes, he got Cleveland to the playoffs, but his last playoff appearance before that, the last time he had a winning record before that was when he went 9-7 at Baltimore in 2017. And the last time he actually got a team to the playoffs before that was Baltimore in 2014 when he went 10-6. After winning that Super Bowl in 2012, he had his $100 million deal and he never lived up to it. So I don't understand why people are so high on Joe Flacco working out this year just because of what he did at Cleveland 2 years ago. That's not the reason he's being named the starter. Now, again, Kevin Stefanski may be a little more partial to him because of that. But the real truth of the matter is they want Dillon Gabriel to work out. They don't want Shedeur Sanders to have all the hype in the world because they know that could cause problems for their team long term. And with that in mind, yeah, I think they're naming Joe Flacco the starter to buy time to figure out what to do with Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders because Shedeur Sanders is pushing Dillon Gabriel much more than they wanted him to. He's been a lot closer. He's been better than Dillon Gabriel in a lot of ways. I told you guys from the start, I thought Shedeur Sanders was the best pro prospect coming out of college last year in terms of his ability to throw from the pocket. Now, as a teammate, attitude, intangibles, interviews, all that stuff matters too, and that could be why he fell to the 5th round. You got to be able to have those things. But in terms of just eye test, watching a guy throw from the pocket, Shedeur Sanders was the best pure passer in this draft. There's just no doubt about it. And he was going to show that the second he got drafted, whichever team drafted him that had him relegated as a quarterback, he was going to make a push. And he's now in a system where, again, he's the best pure pro-style quarterback in this draft. He's playing for one of the purest pro-style offensive coordinators who is coaching under a pro-style head coach, all of whom have experience coaching quarterbacks. And he's competing with a guy who didn't come from a pro-style offense in Dillon Gabriel, the other rookie. That's a guy who came from the spread offense, the spread option offense, to be in particular, with Oregon last year, playing with under Will Stein and Dan Lanning. So even if you think Dillon Gabriel will be better long-term, those things alone were naturally going to make Shedeur Sanders the better quarterback at the outset. And that's going to further show itself. They know that. And they want to avoid it. Maybe they hope Dillon Gabriel can develop down the line and get a little better as he gets more familiar with a pro-style offense. But with that in mind, I'm just going to tell you guys straight up. Joe Flacco is being named the starter because Shedeur Sanders right now is better than Dillon Gabriel, and they don't want that in Cleveland because there's too much of a media circus to happen with that being the case. And it's going to be very interesting how this plays out long term because I think they still think Dillon Gabriel will be better long term, and maybe he could. But Shedeur is better right now. Shedeur Sanders is absolutely better than Dillon Gabriel right now. And I guarantee you, had Dillon Gabriel been a lot better than Shedeur, he'd have been named the starter, and Joe Flacco would have been the backup. As the veteran, that's how this would have worked out.